This will be a Feldenkrais lesson, your first approximation to practice. But before we do, please lie on your back for a moment and feel how comfortable you are in lying position. If you're not comfortable, see what you can do. Maybe place a pillow underneath your head, maybe bend your knees, maybe put an extra pad. And whichever way you're lying, whether knees bent or straight, notice contact of your head with the floor. Observe what part of the back of the head is touching. Is it the center of the back of the head, more to the left, more to the right? And then again, don't try to correct right away, because you might find in yourself a tendency to catch asymmetry and immediately correct it. And if you do so, then examine, are you better? Are you truly better in this new symmetrical position? Or is this satisfying only a certain feeling that you don't like asymmetry, but you are not necessarily feeling better, only that itch was scratched? And notice the neck. Feel your whole spine throughout this whole program, the 30 days. We're going to spend a lot of time talking and sensing our tube, the central spinal column, your spine, and the sense of a tube. Because if you think of an ideal symmetrical place, the length of your back and the length of your front and the length of the right side and the length of the left side are equal. If you wanted ideal symmetry, you would find that the back of your spine, the distance from the back of your head to your tailbone, examine that. Is it the same as the distance from the throat to your pubic bone, meaning the length of the front of your spine? Or would you say that front is shorter or longer? Examine that. Pay attention. Then try to sense the right side of the tube, right side of your neck, right side next to your middle back, meaning if you went deep into your spine, behind your breastbone, and paid attention to the right side of that spine, and then down toward your middle lower back, into the side of the sacrum, pelvis. How long is that line on the right side? Then examine the tube on the left side, that spinal column, the left side. You start with your neck. You might find, oh, my head is tilted, the left side or right side shorter. I feel that. What happens in the middle section between your shoulder blades on the left side and the left lower back? How long is that line? First of all, how well can you sense it? For some of you, it's an abstraction. It's really not, you don't know how to feel it yet. Go back, to the moving your attention from the back point of view, the back of your spine, then the front of your spine, the right side of your spine, and the left side of your spine. And form that idea of this three-dimensional tube of your spinal column, the distance between your head and pelvis. Our posture usually improves as the distance gets longer, as the front and back and right and left pretty much match themselves. Not that our spine is fully straight like a stick. It has its three curves. But often what gets us in trouble is when one of those shapes in a certain section, maybe in the lower back or in the neck or in the middle back, deviates from equal length, when it either collapses or shrinks on one side. Great. Now pay attention to your four limbs, your upper limbs, your right arm, left arm, right leg and left leg. And examine this idea, this new definition. Maybe for you is not new. For those of you who've studied with us for a while or study Feldenkrais for a while, that's not a new notion, but the notion of state from where you can move. Examine how easily from this position where you are right now, you could start rolling onto your right side. Don't do it yet. Just ponder for a moment. From the state that I'm in, how easily rolling to the right will be. And then for a moment, ponder rolling to the left. Can you feel maybe there is a bias? Maybe one side you know already before you even try that rolling toward one side is simpler. Go ahead, begin rolling. Begin rolling one side, begin rolling to the other side, and examine that for yourself. Start rolling to your right, come back, do it again. Feel how much effort, how light, how swift this movement is, and then try to the left. Would you say it's pretty symmetrical? That would suggest, in terms of rolling, your posture close to ideal. If one side is 80% easily and the other is 20% easily, yeah, of course, it's obvious. Lovely. Please bend both of your knees. Throughout the 30 days, we're going to use a lot of rolling. We'll be going back and forth with this image of a tube, the image of the dimensions of the tube, and we'll go about improving carriage of the head, improving the position of the shoulders or state of our shoulders, thorax, our position and movements of our spine, hips, pelvis, and our feet, ankles, knees, through rolling movement. Your knees are bent, and very gently bring your right knee to chest. Put your right hand below your knee, below your kneecap. Interlace your fingers. Unless you want the hands behind the knee, that's also okay. Below the knee will mean in front on your shin. Behind would mean on the hamstring side. Feel which one is easier for you. And very gently bring your right knee a little bit closer to chest and away and closer, but don't stretch. Feel how can you make the movement simple, pleasant, nothing to it. You're bringing your knee a little closer, a little away. Perfect. Feel how much of this movement is in the hip joint, how much is in the pelvis. This is interesting. We take things like this for granted. There is vast information vast amount of information in this movement. How much of the movement is in the hip? In other words, is the thigh moving relatively to your pelvis? Or are you tilting your pelvis back with very small amount of movement in the hip? What's your own ratio? How much is the movement in the hip joint and how much is the movement of the pelvis in your spine? Can you detect that? Good. Compare with the other side. Put the right leg down, bring your left knee to chest, interlace your fingers, put them either behind or below the knee, symmetrical to what you did on the other side, and start to move your knee toward your chest. Feel, is it different or is it a mirror image? Most likely there is a little difference between the two sides. Go back to your right leg. And now introduce the movement of the right knee to the right and left. Small amount to the right and back. Here too, observe how much of the movement is in the hip joint, meaning relatively to your pelvis, and how much the pelvis is rolling to the right, meaning your left buttock is reducing contact with the floor and perhaps even lifting. Sense. You could make the movement, go ahead, make the movement just from your pelvis, where your knee is in front of your pelvis all the time, when it's facing the ceiling and when it's facing the wall on the right side. You basically fixed, you could put a stick between front of your pelvis and your thigh, and you don't lose that stick. You're moving like one piece. Sense it. That would mean no movement in the hip joint. Compare that to actually moving the knee away from your pelvis, losing that stick. Perhaps even don't move your pelvis at all, or very little. Don't roll the pelvis. Move the knee like a frog leg out, and then come back. Of course, as the weight migrates to the right, you will feel that the pelvis starts to roll. But feel that knee moving out to the right relatively to the pelvis. And then go with your own movement, with your own signature. Move the knee to the right and feel how much is in the pelvis, how much is in the hip joint. And listen how pleasant this movement of beginning to roll to the right is for you. Comfortable, not comfortable? Can you sense you rolling through the structures of the right side of your back as you go to the right? Some of us have quite ropey muscles there. And as you go to the right, you might feel you massaging your right back, muscles of your back, as you transferring weight to the right and back. Observe how the rest of the tube is behaving. When you go to the right, is the whole spine rolling? Is your head rolling to the right as well? Or do you hold your head still? As you see, I'm not telling you what you should do. I'm not telling you the head should move or shouldn't move. We're interested in first using the top of your brain, that neocortex, that cognitive part of our brain, for awareness, for noticing what is it that I'm doing? How am I doing it? And free of criticism, free of this emotional, I'm not doing it right. I should be doing this or that. Feel, could you be, it's just fine. The way you're doing is just fine. Of course, providing that it doesn't hurt. If you're doing it and it's causing pain, you cannot fool the brain. The brain knows that this is not nice for you because it hurts. So if that's the case, don't do it. Make it smaller, skip it, rest. Put the leg down, straighten both of your legs, and observe how the right side responded of you. How the right leg is, whether it feels longer, more open, sensation in your right back. Can you feel how your posture changed? Your lying posture changed as a result of the experience that you just had. that you had this few minutes of rolling, holding on to your right leg, paying attention to the back, to the tube, to the spinal tissues. And that created a change. Bend both of your knees, bring your left knee to chest. Let's see how movement of the left knee to the left is. Interlace your fingers, put them below or behind the knee, and go on. Start to move the left knee to the left and observe what's that like. You have a fresh memory of what it felt like on the right side. How is it this side? In the ideal, perfect system that doesn't exist, it will feel exactly the same ease, the same or difficulty, the same effort. But most of us feel there's a difference between one side and the other. And do a small movement of just beginning to roll. Feel the tube of your spine, feel your head. In our first approximation, we are starting to make weight shifting movements from right to left, from left to right, which is kind of like what we do with a pizza dough. You're rolling it, and what happens? It becomes a little bit more supple. If there are some kinks in your spine, if there are some twists or side bends or sharp angles within the spine, with gentle movement to the left and back and to the left and back, you are creating that pizza dough getting longer. Your spine, your distance between your head and pelvis is likely to get a little longer as an outcome of what we're doing here. Gently back and forth. Feel how readily the head rolls to the left. Notice your breathing. Could you practice ease? Not correctness, not rightness, but ease. Can you rehearse as you're moving to the left and back a sense of ease? And it doesn't matter if you roll all the way to the side or if you just go halfway or quarter of the way. Not relevant. Good. Put your leg down. Take a full stop and examine your posture now. If the left leg now is a little bit longer, if the contact with the floor on the left side change, observe. If you're comfortable with legs straight, do so. If not, just keep them bent and examine position of the buttocks, pelvis, lower back, shoulders even. Can you feel that these last experiences again made some change, which is that dynamic part of our posture, that idea that you will learn good posture and that you will freeze it forever is actually a silly idea, because you can see within minutes things change. And what we want is that fluid, flexible, supple system that can make changes constantly from moment to moment. And of course, including the negative response. If you're on your phone or working on the iPhone, on the laptop, and looking down for hours and hours and hours, of course it will. This is also teaching your nervous system, muscular system, fascia, bones to hold a certain arrangement, and therefore it will affect it. And that's why it's important to have maintenance, to have some kind of routine, some kind of movement practice where you can undo the negative consequences of what we do every day and what we have to do every day. Bend your knees, put your right hand on the Actually, right hand on the right knee, left hand on the left knee. Bring both knees to chest and very gently examine movement to the right and then movement to the left. Stop thinking of rolling all the way. It will happen, but don't make it a priority to roll over. Your priority is to examine you moving the right knee to the right and you watch what happens. How the head, how is the tube? How is that internal roll of your spine, of the core of the body responding? For some, it will be predominantly in the lower back. Others will feel, oh, my whole tube is turning. Head, is your head participating in this movement? And then a few times to the left, examining from one side to the other side. Do 2 movements on one side, 2 movements of the other side, and listen, listen, listen to what's that like? What's the difference between the two? And how come there is this difference? Good. Stop. Stretch out your legs and rest, please. Rest a moment. Observe the contact that you're making with the floor. Now, bend your knees again. Bring your right knee toward your chest. And now put both hands below your kneecap or behind the knee. Either way is fine. And very gently start to move your right knee to the right. And feel that now, when the right knee is moving to the right, your left shoulder is being pulled sooner away from the floor than when only your right hand was on the right knee. And you feel that left corner of the chest rolling, lifting off the floor sooner. Back and forth, to the right, returning. To the right and returning. Great. Stop for a moment. Tilt your head to the right, meaning bring your right ear toward your right shoulder. Don't turn your head necessarily, but tilt it. So for now, you can let go of the knee, have your knees standing. You could even place your hands behind your head, interlace your hands, put them behind your head, if that helps. If that, of course, if your shoulder hurts, then don't do that. And drag your head to the right. Drag your head to the right and come back. To the right and come back. And listen to what happens. Your neck gets shorter on the right side. Can you feel that? Maybe even your middle back, maybe even your lower back bends to the right. Can you feel that accordion of the ribs on the right side coming a little closer? Accordion of the left side elongating. Now compare that to bending to the left. Tilt your head to the left, bringing your left ear down. Return. Do a few movements. Observe once again. Most of us will notice that it's not the same ease. One side may feel simpler, one's more familiar, path traveled many, many times. And the other side may feel a little bit less frequently visited. Great. Now, bring your right knee toward your chest again. And before you do, put your hands on the knee. Before you do anything with the right knee to the right, position your head to the right, meaning shorten your right side. Tilt your head to the right. Stay there with your head tilted, your right ear down, your right shoulder a little bit down, and then hold on to your right knee. And go on with rolling, with movement of the right knee to the right. And sense, how does that affect your movement of the right knee, your turning of the body to the right, your rolling to the right? For some of you, might feel simpler. For others, will feel, oh, that's a little bit restricted. Again, your experience is the most important. It's not correct or incorrect. What do you feel? How does the position of the head influence movement of your right knee to the right and rolling? Good. Compare that to head in the middle. Bring your head to more or less middle and feel when you move the right knee to the right, what happens, how the head is turning, how the chest is turning, how the spine, that central tube, how it's rolling. Maybe 3 more times, gently. And then bring the knee back up and tilt your head to the left. And keep your head to the left now. Left ear down, closer to your left hip. Left shoulder perhaps a little down. And feel how does that affect movement of the right knee to the right? Experience that. There's no bypassing. There is no cheat sheet. You need to do it, sense it, feel it, process it in order to truly benefit from this work. And then back to the head in the middle and feel what's that like. 3 more times, roll to the right and back. Excellent. Leave it alone. Straighten your legs, straighten your arms. Take a moment of rest. Pay attention to what's the sense of where is your head resting? What's the sense of the 2 sides of your neck? Length of the 2 sides of the tube in the middle back, in the lower back. Please bend both of your knees. Interlace your fingers, put them behind your head. This time, let's examine forward head position on this movement. Lift your head a few times. Bring your elbows forward and lift your head. Come back. Of course, if one shoulder bothers you and you can put your hands, just do it with one hand. Lift and lower your head, which is bringing your head forward relatively to your chest. It flattens your lower back. Can you feel that? Allow the elbows to come closer together. If you keep your elbows wide apart, you're limiting movement of your middle back a little. Feel. It might be interesting to find that, let's see what happens to our rolling from the head forward position. You might find that actually rolling, some of you will find that rolling gets better. Bring your right knee to chest, and while you have your head forward, stay head forward, bring the right knee to the right and roll to your right side or toward the right side. Compare that to keeping your head on the floor, on your hands still. So we can have a comparison apple to apples, apples to apples. So hands behind your head, maybe your left elbow lifts at certain point and you roll by bringing your right knee to the right. And then 3 times with the head forward in forward head position. And the head is lifted, and examine what is it? What do you discover? Again, you may jump into some kind of collision between your belief system and your experience, because you may say, oh, head forward is a bad thing. It shouldn't be doing, but I'm actually feeling I'm rolling nicer. Now, the shortcoming of head forward is if you were to continue the movement and come toward your stomach, that will be a problem. How can you roll on your belly if you had the head forward? It will ram into the floor. The head will need to change. But for some movements, the head forward may actually be nice. Good. Stop, stretch out everything, rest a moment, roll your head gently right and left. Please bend your knees. Lift your hands, put them behind your head. Start with your head resting in the basket of your hands. Lift your left knee toward your chest and very gently begin to move your left knee to the left. Left knee to the left and back. And feel the beginning of rolling to the left. At some point, you might find that your right elbow, it feels nicer when the right elbow comes forward. If holding the leg is too heavy, too hard, you could always have your foot on the ottoman or sofa or something, so you're not dealing with the whole weight of the head. If necessary, you could put your left hand on the behind the left knee and only hold the head with your right. Wonderful. Stop for a second, bring the leg down, replenish, refresh yourself by short break. And then lift your knee again and lift your head. Bring your head into forward head position, or even looking down as we look on our telephones and screens, or when we read something on the surface of the desk, or look down, hold the head down, and continue with the left knee to the left. And feel what's the effect of initiation of movement to the left. Some of you may feel that since the lower back is flatter and the weight shifted toward the lower ribs, the rolling of movements might feel a little simpler. Others may feel, no, I don't disagree. I disagree. I feel it was easier with the head on the floor. Again, your experience is the most important thing here. Compare it. Do 2 movements with the head down in the basket of your hand and bring the left knee to the left. Initiate rolling. 2 movements like this and 2 movements with the head forward. Experience the difference. Wonderful. Stop, lie on your back, please. Stretch out your legs, stretch out everything. Observe what's your contact with the floor now. How long is your tube between the head and the pelvis? Did it get straighter, longer, more contact with the floor, or would you say there is less contact with the floor? Notice your position of the head. How is the back of the head resting? Is it more to the side or is it more to in the center? And again, not because of volition, not because of that itch that I need to always police myself and straighten myself. That idea from that it's fine if it's asymmetrical. Restoring our dignity of our lives, dignity of who we are. Even if we're crooked, we are lovable, we are good. It's something to celebrate, not to punish yourself. Feel your forelimbs, your upper limbs, lower limbs. Sensation of your hip joints, most likely that's richer too. After all, you've been doing movements of the knee, opening hip joint, closing, opening. Can you sense a change in that homunculus, in that side of the brain, that strip where the sensory cortex is? Maybe the area of the hip joint is a little bit more alive there, more blood flowing through that part of the brain, more metabolism happening. Please bend both of your knees. Now, a few times, tilt your right knee to the right. So this time the leg is not off the floor, the right foot is on the floor. And you're opening the right knee a little bit to the right and back. Again, whatever your hip joint permits. Some of us have arthritic hip joints and it feels very limited. Watch that you feel comfortable with what we're doing. Because if it's not comfortable, it's not going to be effective. It's not going to move us toward better posture. All movements need to be comfortable. Now, arms are now down at your sides. Put your arms down along the sides and feel that as you tilting your right knee to the right, the effect on your left shoulder. See if you can sense that at a certain point, your left shoulder blade wants to lift off the floor and then come back. Feel those structures in front of your chest. They're muscles called pectorals. There is pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. These are muscles that are quite important when it comes to the posture of our shoulders. Feel as your right knee opens to the right and the pelvis rolls to the right, your left pectoral muscles elongate a little bit. Feel how much they give. Does the shoulder lift immediately, or is there a little bit, I'll use the word stretch or lengthening, sense of lengthening there in the front left corner of your chest? Can you feel that? Can you make it pleasant? So that lengthening, that stretch feels nice. Not something that your body needs to guard against, but something that maybe it will be welcomed. It will be welcomed by those lower centers of the brain, responsible for safety and also your emotions, the feelings that you have. Can this be a nice feeling, pleasant, safe? Watch, at a certain point, your left knee starts to tilt a little bit to the left. And as you return, you might find your left hip adductors, muscles on the inner thigh that connect to your pubic bone, that they're active, pulling your pubic bone back to the middle. Can you sense that? And you feel when you tilt to the right, that lengthening in the pectoral, left shoulder lifting, maybe a little elongation of the inner thigh muscles on the left. And as you're coming back, the inner thigh muscles become active. So again, there's this play of they kick in when you're coming back, and they release, gradually release as you're tilting to the right. Lovely. Stop it, stretch out your legs. Feel effect on your left shoulder and the broadness of your chest. Is there any difference? Does it feel your chest, shoulders a little bit wider, broader? Can you sense any change in the openness of your chest? Feel with it whether there is a change in the perception of your safety, how safe you are. Because you know, when we are not safe, those muscles protect us or help us protect. They contract, they brace us, they fold us into ball. And ball is actually a good thing to fall on. When you need to fall, rolling, making yourself into ball is better, is safer because it pulls the head forward. It protects your brain, protects your head from impact or from attack, from being attacked. Hiding is a wonderful thing. So again, if you feel it and disrespect it, if I'm not feeling so safe, if I have a day where I feel a little anxious, not too hot about myself, or in some kind of sense of danger, and then with my upper brain, I say, I don't like it. I don't like myself, this folded like a fetus down. I need to be broad and upright. Then I'm creating a little bit of a tug of war. Part of me deep in my brain needs to feel safe. And the other part says, no, you shouldn't feel like that. You should feel differently. And that's a recipe for not a nice place where you have conflict between one and the other. Bend your knees. Please start to move the other knee, your left knee to the left now, and examine the effect on the right shoulder. Sense as your left knee opens, pelvis rolls to the left, lower back lifts on the right side. Your lower right ribs start to lift also. Can you feel your right shoulder blade starting to pick up off the floor? And sense, how can you let go of the right chest softly? If it doesn't want to let go, see if you can embrace it. Fine. It doesn't have to let go. You're sensing, you're noticing, and you're kind to yourself. You're not punishing yourself. You're not immediately going into some kind of stretching mode and fighting mode. No. You're good to yourself. And you have time. It will let go when it's ready. Back and forth. Feel how when the left knee moves, the pelvis rolls, the tube of your spine rolls a little bit, whether it moves toward your head rolling as well. Now, purposely a few times, lift your right shoulder and hold the right shoulder lifted, as we often have our shoulders forward. So bring your right shoulder forward and keep it forward there. And feel, you tilt the knee to the left, and then you come back and you don't really come back fully because that shoulder is up off the floor. Experience that, notice what it feels like to exert that contraction in the pectoral area. And after 3 more repetitions, allow the right shoulder to hang back, to rest. And do another 3 or 4 repetitions of the left knee going out, coming back. This time your right shoulder lifts when it needs to lift and not sooner. Wonderful. And last 5 times, do it once on the right, once on the left. Bring the right knee to the side, rolling to the side, coming back, left knee to the side, coming back. Feel your state of readiness to move to the right and left. Observe if the opening, if the movement is a little bit more alike, maybe not perfectly symmetrical, but if you can sense the greater ease initiating without preparation, without hesitation, without massive efforts. Excellent. Leave it alone. Straighten everything down. Observe contact that you're making with the floor. Observe the central tube, the length between your head and pelvis, how far they are apart. It's possible that they actually got longer. You got a little taller. Your head and pelvis are further away from each other, and not actively, forcefully, with more contractions in the body, but perhaps more as like pizza dough that got elongated through rolling and compression, but not through active. Actually, muscles are quieter. And observe your breathing, your level of comfort. And for the next 30 days, with the sessions during the weekdays, when in between those long segments, you will log in and you will receive every day a little video of a few minutes, 15 minutes or so of practice. And I'll ask you to practice, for those of you, of course, who are staying with us for 30 days, every day will be adding elements of that will stay with movement of rolling in various ways. Today, we only did from back to side. Lying on the stomach is a different story, where the head forward again will not work. We would need to give up head forward. We'll need to learn what we did when we were babies, to pick up the head like a 6 months old on the stomach, and to tonify our back muscles and learn how to be in the state where you can roll 360 degree and reverse at any moment and any time. Please bend both of your knees, roll to your side, and come up to sitting and come up to standing. Stand for a moment and experience yourself in standing. Pay attention to what's that like. how upright you find yourself at this moment. What's your carriage of the head? How broad, wide your shoulders are. How are they hanging? What's the sense of the length of your spine with its three curves, neck, middle back, lower back? Front of your spine, back of your spine, right of your spine, left of your spine. What's your sense of your pelvis as a platform for the spine and your hip joints? How your hips support your spine. Observe your feet, their contact with the floor, and ankles. Excellent. Walk around, please. Feel your breathing, your state of being, state of feeling yourself, being in your body, moving, thinking, feeling, sensing, and moving all at once. And please come closer to the monitor one more time. I'll show you a little video that I've recorded. It will be part of your first homework. And for those of you who are visiting only today and you're not joining the rest of the course, this will also give you an idea what you could do on your own to help, which will be basically using a cylinder or lying on the cylinder. So this, for those of you who will stay for 30 days, you will receive this tomorrow as a part, because we'll actually do two things. We'll do first rolling mini session, and then what I'm going to share with you right now. So this is how to create that tube. Throughout the program, we will be hearing a lot about the cylinder of your body, the cylinder of your torso, the core, the skeletal core of your body. And we are going to do a daily practice of lying on a cylinder. If you have a foam roller, that would work wonderfully. If you don't have the roller, you don't have to invest. You could use a blanket, rolled blanket. So what you can do is bring the blanket to about the length of your body and just roll it. It doesn't have to be very firm. Some people like more firm contact, some people like a little softer. This will do. A rolled cylinder on which you could lie down. And first you will start in sitting position at the very end of this roller, and then you will bring yourself on it lengthwise. You need to have the length of the roller that will support your head and support your pelvis. For me, it's the minimum length now. I can sense the edge of this roller still on the back of my head, which is not ideal, which is not optimal. So I would want it to make it a little bit longer so both the pelvis can stay and the head fully stay on the roller. And part of our practice today will be just finishing with 2 minutes resting on that roller, on that cylinder, on that tube, feeling how the weight bearing is happening through our midline, the spine between your shoulder blades, the back of your head. Notice how it's balancing itself. Is the head falling toward one side more than the other? Don't have to correct it unless you feel more comfortable.
unless you feel small adjustments will make you happier. Feel your shoulders don't have support, or support is not as strong, which facilitates this opening of your chest. Again, those pectoral muscles, pectoralis minor, pectoralis major, fibers of these muscles that typically are chronically contracted when we have our shoulders forward. Now they have a chance to stop their habitual tension. And spend a minute. If you like, you can spend a little bit longer just resting on this cylinder. You can practice mindful breathing, inhaling through your nose, exhaling through your nose too. And surrendering toward this roller. At the beginning, you may feel a little bit challenged in terms of your balance. It may feel like you have much less, obviously, of the body, of the back to support you. So you may feel a little wobble. Make sure that it's not too challenging, that it doesn't stiffen you up, doesn't tense you up, this position. But that you can yield, you can rest comfortably like that. Again, for the first session, this will be enough. You can slowly roll off this roller, gently falling off of it without any impact, then pushing the roller out, and check what your contact with the floor feels like even after these couple minutes of resting on the roller. Can you feel that the midline has sunken down into it, into the floor? You might even feel taller, flatter. And that's our session for today. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, so roller practice. You could try it today. If you have a foam roller, great. It could be big 6-inch foam roller or smaller, doesn't really matter, or just rolled beach towel blanket will do.